stand up here and present their slam poem, so we would appreciate your attentiveness and an encouraging round of applause after each speaker. Also, feel free to show your emoticons after each presenter.
Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first presenter.
One thing I want you to know is that you're not a good person. You say that we should not be racist, that we should not be homophobic, xenophobic, or sexist. But you say that we should be all-inclusive and that we should not discriminate. But you only approach the nice people, while losers you inwardly hate. Why does it not seem to cross your mind that right in front of your nose, there is a kid who sits eating lunch alone? You say that you support victims of society, but well, this kid, he's always been alone. Please, don't be the 99 out of 100 who look at figures on the media and rave about how this figure is good and how that figure is bad, as if humans were a set of ideals or a race itself from which they prevail. You act as if humans were nothing more than objects, as if they could be packed into boxes and stored in our minds. Do you not know that there is so much more than the labels we wear and what we expose? Let me ask what you think of when you see the horizon bleeding with hues. Or what do you think of when you see the shimmering stars and the moon? What do you discover about yourself as you hear the universe and its tune? What experiences do you have that sets you apart from others? Do you know what it feels like to open one package of chocolate with your family on a day that is scarce, cold, and wintry? What battles have you fought that sets you apart from others? What would you say if I asked you, is altruism worth it? In this rainy world of cynical ideas, it's easy to snuff out your flame and your wit. But maybe the naive statement spoken on cold and dreary days, that the sun will come out tomorrow, conquers worldly knowledge and its ways. Please, start looking at humans as people, not as figures of good and evil. Be able to see a person, as you are, full of thoughts, experiences, and quirks, or else our lack of empathy will result in hurt. Hurt always gives birth to hurt. It is a contagious disease that spreads on and on. But speak a sentence of warmth to the next person, and you'll see that it holds the power to save lives. One thing I want you to know is that you're not a good person, but you're so much more.
I'm the worst. In math class, I'm a nerd, but on a math team, I'm an idiot. I have acne, and I lack any fashion sense. I have so many flaws. People say that when writing, you're your own worst critic, but it doesn't end there. If someone says that something they wrote is terrible, we'll disagree and point out all the perfect things about it. But if someone says that they're terrible, we'll agree and start talking about things we hate about ourselves, as if it's some sick competition to see who's the least perfect. When I used to have a bad day, I would list all the terrible things about it. But if I go back and read those lists, I realize what kind of things I wrote. The return of my acne, the fact that I did badly in gym. I wouldn't write things that happened to me. I would write things about me. I remember crying during lunch because I felt rejected while my friends tried to comfort me. So many wonderful people loved and accepted me. They didn't care about my flaws. But I cared. I thought I shouldn't be accepted, that I didn't deserve it. No matter how many imperfections you think you have, you need to realize that they don't matter. What matters is that you know just how amazing you are. Our society needs to stop focusing on what's wrong with us and look for what's right. We need to accept that we are not perfect and learn to love our flaws. Because what good is being accepted by others if you can't accept yourself?
My mother once told me that those who truly love me will like me for the way I really am. Walking through the doors of Lord Tweedsmuir for the first time, I kept these wise words in mind. So when a student came up to me and told me that I lacked the certain je ne sais quoi that the school community used to determine the excellence of a student, I lost all interest in trying to find a place to belong. Sometimes I imagined the school as a prison where all my insecurities are doing their time. Public embarrassment was pronounced in when my head would hang low atop my shoulders. Perfectionists would smile broadly at every teacher who sniffed out my unnoticing brilliance and act like a cocky bitch in front of people who didn't really care about my giant ego that would weigh me down. In fact, I've been so afraid of letting out my true personality because I knew that my mind would inevitably lash out at me. It was as if the word insecure was scribed on my face in red ink. Careful, she won't know how to phrase her words properly if you start a spontaneous conversation with her. It'll throw her off. The truth is, I was not always like this. In fact, I was not even like this to begin with. But the ridiculous perception that the world has of me is too overpowering of my self-worth. And that's how I lost my sense of belonging. Because when somebody decided that I could be pelted with words as hard as rocks, they thought it would be funny to watch them collide with my body as I stood there like stone. It isn't amusing. It isn't funny. So because of this, I was robbed of my identity. It was lost to me far before I realized it was gone. I was alone, I was broken, and I was irreparable. So the day I filled with a gun between my fingers for the first time, I realized something had to change. I needed to change. I'm a locked diary of secrets. My personality is a concoction of different aspects that make up who I am. I live by the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm the cover of the novel, and my mind is the hidden text. And only those who take time to read me will understand my true story. Thank you.
Inhabited by a poisoned race, the atmosphere filled with a plastic taste. Deep beneath the ransacked soil, you will find Earth's veins. Taken by the harsh melodic jingles of hell, blood runs with deep cuts left to fester and dwell. If the earth whimpers and no one is around to care about it, does it still make a sound? The vessels that once confidently intertwined themselves below surface level now endeavor to catch a simple grasp, comparable to kidnappers and tortured murders filled with griefs, for as we are all criminals charged as nature's thieves. Stenches of splitting stitches cutting clear through each pigment of pain, machetes rampantly rip with death grips holding in the palm of skeletons' fists, our very own footprints and fingertips contaminated with carbon trails of deadly mists, coughed up tar and reddish-orange mucus to fulfill our cravings and greedy desires. We take your serums you hold preciously below the ground we walk above by injecting painful needles into you to get the gases that serve as the basis of our very society. And that is exactly how we repay you, hurting and whipping you of all nature's gems, for nurturing such beauty and taking us in with your delicate hands. And no matter how many pleas of forgiveness fall stray from the sanctuary of our open mouths, the bullet of damage inflicted will pierce gracefully through you, as your precious veins will eventually give way, causing an entire race to have self-inflicted refugee status, as if exiled from our very planet. Thank you.
I can't see you, but I'll feel you. You'll come out of nowhere and catch me off guard. Like an uninvited guest, you'll show up out of the blue. I know you'll come, but I don't know when, or where, or how. How? Will you sweep me off my feet? Will you come quietly or abruptly with a crowd of people? I know you'll come, and you'll ruin everything, just like you ruined so much for so many people. Innocent people that didn't deserve you. Or maybe they did. But good people like mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, grandparents, children that barely took their first breath do not deserve you. And still you come. Some fight you off, beat you. But not forever, because no matter what, you still come. You're waiting for your next victim, and they won't know when, or where, or how, but you'll get them. You'll get them and you'll continue to play this sick game because you have no feelings towards these people. You have no remorse. You don't care. And the pain you cause is not something anyone can stitch up with a needle and thread, for you will leave this pain to linger with them forever, no matter how hard anyone tries to cover it up.
The darkened, filled with racism, macrocosm stereotypes today that all brown people are enormous terrorists, black people are atrocious thieves, and there are so many more that a thick human skull can think of. From all of these, there isn't any equality between human beings from their races, which can invade their spaces. Walking throughout the dark and gloomy school, hearing boom, terrorist, picker, makes my soul's self-esteem deprived like a child losing its mother. Racism can be a dreadful concern to one for our society, which relates to one of getting anxiety. From strolling throughout my school, having my hands clenching, soul frightening, and my lips tightening, while not wanting to hear cruel racism directed towards me is the only wish in my life. Racism is a gigantic tear where no person can feel air if they have been struck by such a barbarous thing. Respect symbolizes unity between others, and with unity, there will always be a powerful community. But with racism, there will always be separation, and this is not how people should act. Illegal immigrant, you jumped the border. How would you feel if someone said these racist words towards you? Your gut inside would feel like butterflies, and this is not how people should act. Nice words come from nice people. Kind words come from kind people. Sincere words come from sincere people, and this is the way people should act. For 1 minute, put yourself into a perspective view to see how racism can affect one's soul and how someone's heart can feel knocked out, feeling like a hole with no one to support you. Deep down, directly to the deep side, is where these people are when they've been affected with racism. And we can make a change together, equitable with a positive attitude. We can make a change together if everyone is together, and racism can be fought and drowned only with a positive attitude. We can make a difference for the next generation so they don't feel scared and unrepaired only with a positive attitude. Thank you.
All my life, I have been tortured on what I must believe. I was taught that blood transfusions were wrong, that giving of what one has extra of to save a life was wrong, that you weren't allowed to wear certain things or you might disrespect the one above. I myself have been absolutely conflicted by religion. I've been taught that there is a paradise once the end comes and all is perfect, that there is a hell where hell is merely the absence of God, and that there is a heaven where you're not reminded of the loved ones you left behind. Taught that my heart will soon be judged before the Almighty. The religion I woke up to had men and women who chose to be baptized. The list of rules is set before them. If the rules are broken, you are disowned. You must come back on your own. No one is to speak to you, and no one will. And fear they too will be disowned. If you are baptized and the rules, if you are not baptized and the rules are broken, no consequences will regard to your actions. Baptism is a dedication to what one believes. It isn't to be feared. They said that the one and only is a God of love, but disowning a creation of God in their time of need will make them feel unloved. We are all imperfect, is what I'm told, that Adam and Eve were created in a perfect pan, that once they made sin, the pan was then dented. Every loaf from then on created in the pan will then be dented. Forever imperfect. If that is true, then our mistakes must be expected. Why are we punished for our destiny of sin? I dwelled on my confliction for what seemed like an eternity, and I prayed for months for the guidance of God that never came. From day one, when I knew eyes open, these things were shoved down my throat. It was all I knew. Eventually, I wanted to give up. I felt God had left me, and I was alone. I sat in a strange office with a woman who asked one too many questions. Once again, I was told something to which I feared, yet already knew. Depression developed, overruled my mind. I was stuck. The only thing that could numb and silence my thoughts was a pill. Just because my mind let go doesn't mean I'm not still controlled when I go to sleep at night. The yellow capsules in the blue bottle hold me now. I take in fear my thoughts will return, or I won't be able to perform to the best of my abilities in school. You can tell me to let it go. You can tell me to just pass it on by and be like everybody else. But these things are engraved in my mind, written down on stone and left there. I'm connected. My fears will never leave me. This is my conflict with religion.
Thank you so much for being an amazing audience today. May we have another round of applause for our poets?